Hello and welcome to Women Matters, the English-speaking women conversation round of the Wisdom Factory. And today we have a special event because one of our members, Gertraud Wext, will show you her preferred tools with which she is working in life and in profession. And this is Appreciative Inquiry. And our topic, the title is A Taste of the Appreciative Inquiry, because we want to have an introduction. We want to know what it is. We have heard so often about Appreciative Inquiry and so on. Now, Gertraud, we will hear from you. But before we do that, we do a little bit of a check-in. I'm Heidi from the Wisdom Factory here in Italy. It's very hot today, as you see, but altogether it's better warm than cold. Who else wants to?
Okay, I'm Anna and I'm in UK, and our weather at the moment is cool but warmish, so it's very pleasant.
Okay, I'm Monia. I live in Vienna, Austria, and the weather is just too hot, and now it's a little raining, and that's nice, but it's much too hot for June. And otherwise, I am fine.
And I'm Tammy, and I'm in Vancouver in Canada. And it's been sudden summer everywhere, I feel like. So we whacked right into summer, and then today it's cold again. But it's a bit odd. We've definitely got climate change going on. And I'm honored and pleased to be here.
We cannot deny climate change from all the places in the world, I would say. Okay, last not least, Gertraud.
Yeah, I'm Gertraud. I'm living in Germany, in the middle, north of Frankfurt. And here it's raining for 2 days now. But before it was over 30 degrees, so really, really hot for June. Very, I think they said it's in the last more than 50 years, it has been not that hot in June. So, yes. And I just came via Vienna. Home from the Integral European Conference, and I will be in England next week. Mm-hmm. So, and landing in Bristol.
Good. Maybe you can meet up somehow.
How long will you be there? Well, we can talk about it after the program. Oh, yes, then we must definitely.
In Glastonbury, Stonehenge and all this area.
I would love also to have a conversation about the Integral Conference. We had in the Wisdom Factory hosted one on last Monday because Tom Habib and his wife, they were here and seeing us. And so we did a conversation together. It was quite nice. But, in 1 hour, that's what you can see. And he said, there are so many things which you could watch and participate. So that's necessarily only a little excerpt of the whole conference. And I would love to have another talk with you who were at the conference too. So, but today you will give us a taste of Appreciative Inquiry, and over to you.
And before we jump in, I'd love to just remind people to mute their mics because we're flipping back and forth.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to remind you, please take a little bit of notes. So I don't have the practical time to do timestamps in this period. So if you can take the most important things and send it to me afterwards, then we will publish it for the future and present listeners in the website so they find the topics or the points which were made. Okay, thank you.
Before I go into the details, I can say and send you, Heidi, we have written a series of articles in Enlivening Edge, the online magazine, about appreciative inquiry and the journey to teal. So it might give people that want to know more a hint on that.
Okay, I will publish it in the website, give the link there. Okay.
Good. I'll send it right after the, yeah. So I don't want to hold a speech for an hour. Just maybe I can start with a story, talking about ourselves. We are 8 coaches, trainers, consultants, and we met when we did the training of Appreciative Inquiry in, when was it, 2010? And it was like a back door slammed. It was no more problem solving. I don't want to work the same old way. It was really like a pivot point, no more of the old stuff. And we were all freelancers and working alone. And then the question came up, how can we introduce appreciation into companies? Because that's the one lacking big thing when you go with Gallup studies that say, okay, people, almost 92% have the profession they really love, but they don't feel appreciated. And that's why they have the inner, they just want to leave the company or just do what they are told to do to not lose the job. And so we used exactly the tool we just learned to work on that question. And after half a year, we went through that whole process, and all of a sudden, it was clear we want to work together and to just do just that. So we created ourselves with the tools we just learned. And that was in 2011. In January, started. And these were the same people that did the process and the same people that are still there. And we have added another, one of our clients. So we are 8. And what struck me with Appreciative Inquiry is really like all people said, yeah, appreciation is important. But this is genuinely like, that's where I'm coming from. It's not only a method, it's a stance, it's a way of being. Like, I look at life as it is, and then I decide, I choose to have an appreciative look at that. So compared to love and gratitude, that's a little more difficult to choose that. But appreciation, you can, in any moment, you can just choose that. You can say, okay, I can, even if I only look at the nice shoes, I can say, okay, I have an appreciative look. And so I'm saying a little bit about the method. It's coming from David Cooperrider, who is a professor in Cleveland, I think. And he had worked on his master thesis or doctor's thesis, I don't know. He has worked with that. So it came out of his research work. And so they were working with rugby players and realized that telling them what they did wrong was not that effective as to say, okay, these strikes were the best ones and go for this. And as Peter Drucker says, in the face of that, the mistakes become insignificant. And so he introduced that, and he chose not to have a trademark with it, but to have it open source. So as many people as possible can participate in it. And yeah, and I met him in South Africa. He's just a guy who is living that. And he's still a professor, and he has a lot of thesis students that now are professors coming out of his school. And they created Aim to Flourish. That's another website I can give you, where they collect people that are doing good and doing good in the world. Are doing well with their finances, but also doing good in the world. So that's the way of being. So you cannot do that method with a non-appreciative stance, meaning then you have a method, okay, another one. And the method itself, it's a process, it's a circle, so to say. Before, when you start, it's defining. So you first define what it is about. You see the problems that people tell you, and then you start to find out not what they want to go away from, but instead of where do they want to go to. So the core themes, they in itself, it's really an important work to do, to find out where people want to go instead of what they don't want anymore. And on the basis of those core themes, there are interviews created. And those interviews are so-called appreciative interviews between two people. And so it doesn't matter how many people are in the whole system. You can do this in a one-on-one coaching session, but you also can do it with 5,000 people as they did in a regional work in South Africa, because it's always starting with two people. And on a fair, we had some people that didn't know each other. We just did a very, very short thing, and they asked these appreciative questions, and they came back. And we have that. We don't have the you for everybody. We just have do and see for the polite form. So they said, we can't say see anymore. It doesn't fit because it was such a nice contact. So in this interview, you ask about what people like about themselves. Then you ask questions about the core themes. There may be 3 to maximum 5 core themes where you, like in the core theme, there is a problem at the moment. But when you really look back, you have solved kind of that problem somewhere in another in other circumstances, something that really was not one-on-one, but there was some resemblance. And so I had a CEO who went back all the way when he was a teenager and was up to win a race. And he knew he's going to win. And so to look at the current situation when he wanted to achieve something. So we find those stories, and they are very touching sometimes, really like, oh my God, I didn't know that. And so, and in that interview is also when those qualities, just like a question about a foreseen future. So if those qualities are all present, if you had that all present, what you had in those stories, how would the future look like? You just wake up in the morning and what could that be? And then in the group, when we come back, we find out what are the core, what should I say? The core qualities, we call them jewels. So to pick up those qualities so they are not attached to the old stories and say, oh yeah, that was very good at that time, but it doesn't fit right now. But once you have the qualities, like I was courageous, I was in connection with my people, then you can use that for today. So taking all those qualities I was in a very short AI process with 18 engineers from all over the world, and we did these interviews, and then they shared their core themes and they shared their stories, and all of a sudden it was so quiet. And I left it a little while and said, can you hear that stillness? I said, wow, yes, my God. I didn't know who was in the room before. We know each other for a long time, but when we only talk about the techniques and things like that, but I didn't know what they were and what they achieved in their lives. So they were really touched from each other, by each other. So, and when we come back and have those, then we go into a creative process, which means you can have a future journey, you can whatever but it's about, we call that dream. The first phase was discovery, and dream is the second phase, and this phase is about fulfilling on the dream. So looking if all those qualities would be present right now for those core themes that we agreed on, that we put together, how could the future look like? How does it feel? What do you see? All these really taking this and really feeling the future right now. And then without talking, do anything creative. Painting, collaging, doing music, drumming, dancing, whatever, to have the right hemisphere with it. And out of this, when you have a bigger group, you find the words for it. You have this collective verbal picture. You find, what is it? That could be a poem or whatever that might be in a firm. You just have this, as if an architect would scribble, oh, that's your dream, and I just give you the first draft. And out of this, we built the bridge to that future, because that future is not in La La Land. It's with my own skills, with our own skills. This is possible. We have already shown that it's possible. And so we built the bridge to that future. And this bridge is having sentences that have the power to pull us into that future, so-called future statements. So these are short sentences that really have that power of, for example, my mission, or this, one of my future statements is, I'm source of appreciation for people and organizations. And that's my North Star every day. So when we have those, and we can go deeper down and put more meat to it, more write more text to it, especially in firms. What does that look like? How does that for this department or for this and for that specific core theme? And out of this, on the wings of that inspiration, then we go into how does that look like on the ground? What new structures do we need? What feedback loops? So that we create that future that is not reversible. It's not who does what with whom by when. That is the very last step maybe. But to have that really in the structure of the company, of whoever that might be, or the group, so that something fundamentally has changed. And from there you can do the projects and say, okay, who does what with whom by when. But it's not enough. There needs to be something. How does that look like? Do we have positive measures and not only how many people are sick? And that makes the difference. And there are large changes with big companies, and you can do it in a one-on-one coaching session with one person. So this is a tool that fits every scale and has no content to it, only that stance of appreciation, just the basis from which I come, and tools to support no matter what people want to achieve. So Lufthansa, for example, the airline, they said, how can we bring the suitcases quicker from A to B? So it was a very practical thing, and they used it for it and used it effectively. And others want to create their purpose with it. Others want to know how to structure their working together and whatever. Sportsmen can say, how can I win a specific sport event? Or I had one for a wedding where he was so in stress with everything. And then he created Dream Come True as their future statement. And all of a sudden, oh my God, that's why I married that woman. And it's not all the stress, and all of a sudden it became a real dream wedding. Yeah, that's about, so it's defined at the beginning. And then you go into the circle with the discovery, dream, design, and the last part is destiny. And this is an ongoing process, and you always can just switch a little bit. You can have another interview. You can create a new future statement because the other one was too long or not inspiring enough. You can have all the screws in the destiny phase. So it's an ongoing process. It's not done. It's really a circle going. Yeah, and sometimes you create a new future because the one is fulfilled, or you find out that it's not that inspiring anymore, but a little bit different. So, and that's my inspiring thing. And it's very inspiring. For example, in South Africa, we met a teacher who did that with street kids. So he was, before they treated the street kids, so we have to get them from the street, and we have to care for them, and the police was just taking them in, and yeah, but they were some kind of, we treat them. And then he did an appreciative inquiry process with the police and with the street kids themselves on eye level. And they said, well, they survived 15, 18 years on the streets. So they must have a lot of qualities that we can't even imagine. And all of a sudden, the street kids became really professionals in what they need. And the policemen, they honored them, they accepted them, they appreciated them. And this was like, he said, he has never, ever seen anything like that before, working with street kids for many, many years. So for him, it was the same thing, just a twist in learning appreciative inquiry. And it's not, you always have to do a big, from the very beginning to the end. It's more a way of being, and you can do really from the beginning to the end, and a real process. But the little things. So people we train in companies, for example, like leaders, they don't do many AI processes, but they changed so much the way of being leaders that they are living examples, not another method applied. And that's what inspires me the most. And there was one last story. One of the trainees in an appreciative inquiry, we train people in appreciative inquiry to be practitioners, and they do a project in between. So during the whole training, and at the end, one said, "Okay, I don't know if I learned so much, and I don't know if I did the method right, but what I really know is that I do in meetings that I ask appreciative questions, and that I do a starting round and an ending round to really get the people together and have them in, so like check in, check out." And yeah, this is it really changed who I am. And the way I could see where things I learned before. I learned that appreciation is important, sure. But it's more that I can feel it. That's really coming from the heart. That other things that were theory or kind of intellectual, that all of a sudden they become really ground and lived. And the people I came to know in South Africa who really did the work, they really living it. From the one who created it up to all the people that learned it. Yeah, so that's the theory of it. Do you have questions before we do an exercise?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing. And you know, when I it's so simple in so many ways. It's just actually just reorienting the self to appreciation, and yet so deep, because that's not the way the world operates. And so it's just like many things, it's very profound. And I guess my question is, in terms of your own transformation as it relates to these practices, yeah, I'm curious about your transformation in not only like learning it to teach it, but how it affected how you live.
Actually, it brought me to writing this book about appreciation for leaders. And I think first it was really self-appreciation. I don't say I'm perfect in that, but to get in contact that there is something lovable about myself, something to appreciate about myself. That's not how I was brought up. And I just had a conversation with a colleague and said, why didn't we put the word integrity somewhere in the book? And I said, for me, before I came across appreciation in that way, it was kind of, if you don't have integrity, then, like hell is waiting, or you have to emigrate to New Zealand. This was such a burden, or almost a guillotine over me. Like, oh my God, I have to do this by then, and and coming from appreciation, I think failure is something that is inbuilt in the human race. So I can be easy with my failures. Not all the time. I mean, at the first time, it's like, God, don't spank me like a 3-year-old. Yeah, to be with my humanness, with the mistakes, with the failures, to forgive myself for not being perfect. I think that's the fundamental thing that changed. And yeah.
Beautiful.
I also have a question, Gertrud.
Yeah.
You mentioned you just come back from the Integral European Conference in Hungary, and you mentioned an article you have in an online magazine, On the Way to Teal.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one important puzzle stone on the way to Teal, I guess. And one should think that everybody should appreciate oneself. So what are the stumbling blocks for appreciating yourself?
I think these are all the, maybe in the integral community we would say shadows, all the things that happened to us where we decided otherwise. I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, I don't belong, whatever that might be, this decision. And I think with appreciation, in the way I see it, you meet the people where they are, exactly where they are. So it starts, we have kind of a, not definition, but it's a appreciation starts with a glance on what is. Before you do that, you can have in make-believe land, but you look at the people, at yourself, where we are right now, and then make that decision. Not to put pink sauce over things that are not working. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have also a question. These false beliefs you name, I think most people have no idea of them. So do you need a certain level of development to be able to see that and to be able to learn that and to give up the self, which we were grown up to, and the, how do you say, the opposite of appreciation, the punishment, the self-punishment, which is so pervasive everywhere in one way or other. If you take drugs to get drunk and end up on the street, this is one way of self-punishment, or you really, people do that, or whatever it is. So who can do that? And and how would you prepare people? You talk about these kids in South Africa. I find it really interesting. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
It just comes to my mind what Mother Teresa said when she was asked how could she work with anybody. And she said, I'm just relating to them. In everyone I meet Jesus. So if in our book we have the first article of our basic law, the dignity of human is inviolable, oder wie heißt das? This is like loving people even if you don't like them. And I don't think that they are always aware of that. And there is sure a difference in awareness and in development and whatever. But I think people genuinely know when they are looked upon or met on eyesight. So talking to the big boss, maybe with other words and honor his position, but not that he's as human better than the cleaning lady.
So I have a follow-up question. I can understand that when you work with somebody, that everybody is human in his humanness or her humanness, and they can understand that. But who is doing the process? Who is able to do this appreciative way of living? What do we need to be able to do that? What is the training, let's say? What training did you do? What did you do to overcome this tendency, which we Germans have a little bit, not to see the negative thing everywhere? Oh, I'm really good in this. So how did you do that?
I think it's a matter. I learned, I started with, after my studies in 82 or so, I started with consulting training, then therapy training. When I met a wall, I just said, okay, what do I need to jump over it? And so I have many trainings like, therapy, coaching training. But but the appreciative inquiry training, even after having many of those trainings, and they were really important to overcome many of my shadows, when we say that. For me, there was a genuine distinction. It was like all the trainings were maybe not the teachers, but I was in that thing that something is wrong here that I need to fix. And all of a sudden that changed. It's genuinely okay. And I'm coming from that and supporting that. So there is this, it's hard to find words for that, but it was really like slamming a back door.
You said before, it's not always okay. So you have a distinction about, let's say, the deep structure, which is okay, and on the surface structure, we still have to work something to become better or something like that. Because if everything is okay, there is no need to, to go ahead.
I would say there is a genuinely people as such are okay, but their actions not always. So I could say, like, I love you and you're behaving like an asshole, and that doesn't work for me. So I don't say it always like that. I just for me, that was the main distinction with my husband, by the way. That I didn't have to take everything he did because I loved him, or I don't love him because I didn't like what he did. So when I could distinguish those two, it was really a relief in the relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes completely sense to me, because often we throw the baby out with the bathwater, so that's a great way to separate these two things. Yeah. Thank you.
And I don't think that you need to have a specific level of development to be appreciative. I think people are longing for that, to be okay just the way they are, and then go from there. And maybe we could do something differently to, I don't know, for relationship that work better. But people know what that is. I think that's ingrained in our being, to long for appreciation and beyond. Yeah.
Well, it's really about being seen. Yeah, that motivation to be seen by others, and I also loved where you went with the seeing yourself and really appreciating yourself first, because that's the basis.
And also being able to appreciate is such a lovely feeling when you can appreciate. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to you, Gertrude. It was a beautiful presentation. And it's obviously gone so deep for you. I mean, it's like it's covered everything, really. Because, and as you said at the beginning, that it was a way of being, something about it would be more difficult to think of it in terms of gratitude and love. But actually, it does involve that, doesn't it? The appreciation that you're talking about is as deep as love. And you know, it just seems to touch every corner of what we need, what we're missing in our organizations and in our relationships with each other. Yeah, so it's been really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I have this picture, this image. Like appreciation is something like scratching a wall and scratching more and more to have a hole in it, a block or whatever, and then it becomes bigger and bigger, and then the light can shine through. So it's you start with the little things. And we even had some exercises like being in a bus. I mean, in America, it might be a little bit different, but in Germany, you don't talk to people in the bus or so normally. And then just say, oh, what a wonderful scarf you have. You can find just the physical things and start with that. Or
were you going to do an exercise with us? That sounded like a lovely idea.
Yes, I wanted to ask you. I didn't think it would go that long. Sorry. I could even then some of the next times I could have a whole hour just practicing. But for the last round, we could. What do you appreciate about yourself?
Can I first say something? Because you say that's easier than love and what was the other thing?
Gratitude.
Yeah, I try to practice gratitude in the meditations, and I find it really difficult. But a practice of appreciation, as you say, there's always something you can appreciate first, and then gratitude for me is the next step. So it's really a good reminder. Thank you. So I will change my meditation to first appreciation and then try to go into gratitude. Thank you.
What I can always send you, or also send you, is we have created perspectives, so-called perspectives. These are little sentences. Some of them are future statements from one or the other appreciative inquiry. And they are like, the people that are here now are the right ones. Appreciation includes everything. Appreciation starts with myself. Or what I really loved, that from a big AI process. Accept, appreciate, trust, act, and celebrate. This is like, in a nutshell, the first, accept what's so. Then choose to appreciate. Then what can you trust in? What could be the next step? And don't forget to celebrate. That's for me AI in a nutshell. And those sentences, they are in 4 different languages, and I can send the PDF of our handout. And these are 36 sentences in English, Spanish. Yeah, and some, how can you use them?
Yeah, and I will publish that in thewisdomfactory.net/women-matters-June-2018. And you can download it then. Not today, but in the next few days. It will be done as soon as you send it to me, Gertrud.
Yep.
Good. Thank you. So we have about 5 to 6, 7 minutes if you want to do a round, Gertrud.
I'm just thinking the question could be one question for you all, and we can go the round. Yeah, I think let's start with that. What do you appreciate about yourself?
I thought that's where you would start. And I was thinking, for me, what I do appreciate about myself is that I can experience quite often that I start with resistance to something. And you probably know that I have resisted this whole appreciation thing a lot, because for me, appreciation has to come from the heart. And what you've been talking about really feels like it comes from the heart. So it's a lot deeper than I saw it to be at the beginning. And what I appreciate about myself is the fact that I can open up and appreciate, even when I begin with resistance. Then, you know, I'm not totally rigid, that something begins to give and open up. And I'm really so grateful that there is that in me that can appreciate what somebody else is offering. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Actually, I guess I have been practicing appreciative inquiry all the time now, because I like to ask questions, and it's amazing how people open up immediately. So maybe it's the right kind of curiosity that appreciates them. And as you said, you start with, yeah, just a garment or shoes or something, and with about 10 minutes, you get their whole life story. That's what happens to me. And it's just, but the look into other people's eyes, so they see that you appreciate them or like them, I think this is important. And you, through the way you look at them, you probably transmit your heart energy as well. And that opens up. And I had a beautiful evening last evening at our last integral salon, when everybody talked to us, because we gave this to our successors, the organization, and there was so much appreciation. And I was just sitting there and I said, oh God, oh God. Yeah, so accepting it is much harder for me than giving it. That's what I found. But I was, when I came home very late, I slept like a log. It knocked me over, so to say. But it was very beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Gertrude. It was a home turf for me. So
For me, I really appreciate my capacity to love. And I really, meet my world that way. And yeah, I think that it comes from just really seeing people as beautiful. And yeah, it has become a way of life for me for a really long time. And even from just like random people on the street. I certainly talk to people on buses, Gertrude. And yeah, I think it's a good space for me to meet the world.
Gertrud, do you want to say something too, or is it okay?
First.
Okay, me first. So you close out then the meeting. Yeah, what I appreciate about myself is the ability to learn and to be in the present and to do things which I need to do, just doing that. And in my present situation, what I appreciate very much that I don't tell myself stories about what could happen, what could be, but just do, just be with the situation, and every day something else will be happening, and also give up the resentment. Now I have to do so much every morning, every evening, and cooking all sort of stuff and trying to make Mark to eat something. In the past, I was resentful if I had to do so much in the household and to take care and blah, blah, blah. And now I just do it, without, as I said, telling me stories or being angry that I have to do it. And I'm really, really grateful for that. So that I'm able to do that.
Yeah, thank you. What I appreciate about myself is to have come a long way. And one of that was important to see for myself in the conference. I was working on fear, and I realized that my whole childhood I was kind of energetically sitting under the table. Yeah, really working on that and really going. So I didn't hand on the torch to my children. And that is really, I'm really proud of that, how they turned out in the face of the odds. Yeah, so, and like, yeah, living from that basis of appreciation. This is really for, when was it, 2010, when I came across that method and being, and that changed so much. Yeah. So I would love to have just one word, just the last round, to complete this session. And I'm just thinking, we came up with a kind of a definition of not the definition that just keeps it in a box. It's more like our way of looking at appreciation. And yeah, I already told Tammy that I wanted to send it to her, my translation, and then we can also put it in this. So, your takeaway, check out for today.
My takeaway word is learning. Learning.
Didn't hear you.
My takeaway, waiting. Learning. Learning/growing.
I was going to say growing, but I'll say growing/learning.
My takeaway is just being reminded of what is really important.
My takeaway word is growing up, cleaning up, waking up.
And showing up.
What showing up.
Being able to show up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. My takeaway is showing up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gertraud. It was the first round of our participants presenting their work. And I think it's a good idea, and we should continue with that. So who is listening today? We had quite a few listeners today. Please stay tuned. On our website, you can get notifications when you click on the certain pink button and write your email address there. And we will have another conversation in about a month. We will now, after the session, figure out when that will be. So thank you, everybody, participants, watchers, now and in the future. And come back again. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.